Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Greg Gilligan. I am the Vice President of Operations here at RVA757 Connects. Thank you so much for joining us for this latest of the RVA757 Connects Virtual Innovation Spotlight webinar. We have an engaging conversation this afternoon on plans for multi-use trails in our mega region from the Richmond area all the way down to Hampton Roads. Our panelists will give us updates on these various multi-use trails. They'll discuss the importance of these trails and how these trails will transform recreation, transportation, tourism, and economic growth. But before we start, let me just give a couple of housekeeping matters. I will introduce our sponsor for this month's webinar. Then I'll give you a quick update on what's going on here at RVA 757 Connects. Then we'll delve into today's topic on multi-use trails, and then we'll leave enough time at the very end for some questions and answers. As a reminder, we record all of our webinars, so this recording will be available sometime later this afternoon on our website. And if you have any questions for us during the webinar, please use the chat function and we'll get to them at the very end of towards the end of the Q&A session. RVA 757 Connects is a nonprofit organization, so we rely on donations. Here are our corporate supporters. And one of our corporate supporters, investors, is Gold Key PHR. It's a hospitality company that develops and manages premier hotels, resorts, and restaurants, such as the historic Cavalier Hotel and Beach Club in Virginia Beach and the Hilton Norfolk, the Maine. Here today to tell us more about Gold Key PHR is Bob Howard. He's the company's Chief Investment Officer. Bob joined Gold Key PHR in 1990 as controller and subsequently was promoted to Executive Vice President of Finance and Accounting in 1994, the Chief Financial Officer in 2000, and his current role as Chief Investment Officer in 2010. Bob also serves on the RVA 757 Connects board, so we appreciate your support, Bob. So let me stop sharing the screen so you can tell us more about Gold Key PHR.
Thanks so much, Greg. It's great to be with everybody today, and hopefully you can see my screen.
Yep.
There you go. Good. Okay. Well, great to be here. It's great to kick off today's webinar on multi-use trails. And in the hospitality industry, we're very excited about this topic today. But let me just take a minute to talk about Gold Key PHR. Our vision is to be acknowledged as a leader in the hospitality industry by our guests, our investors, our peers, and our associates. Okay. So Gold Key has a track record of taking underperforming properties and turning it into award-winning place-making destinations. We have extensive experience in funding capital, both the debt and equity side, which are required for large projects. We are also probably one of the premier companies in the state as far as public-private partnerships. We haven't won every public-private partnership that we've competed for, but we certainly the ones that we did win have all been built. This just gives you an overview of our company. We basically have three companies: Professional Hospitality Resources, which is our hotel company and restaurant company; Ocean Beach Club is our timeshare company that we actually sold in 2015; and Heritage Investments is our asset company. Our primary marketplace is the 757 and primarily in Virginia Beach. The great thing about our local marketplace here is that we're within a 5 to 7 hour car drive to 40% of the U.S. population. So that gives us a great opportunity to do well through bad economic cycles and good economic cycles. Just to give you a rough history of RevPAR and occupancy, this is the Virginia Beach marketplace. You can see that our occupancy has been pretty flat at 60% since 1987, but we've been able to increase that average daily rate, which increases revenue and tax dollars. We also have led the marketplace, the United States actually, in occupancy and ADR during the recession, the Great Recession, and COVID. One of our premier resorts is the Cavalier Resort that we bought in 2013. I think many of you hopefully have been there. And this is the master plan for the Cavalier Resorts. We're one of the nation's best beach resorts for families. Here's the Cavalier itself. Hopefully you've all been there. We're in the autograph collection of hotels. We've won several different awards. We've been written up in everywhere from Southern Living to USA Today. This is our Tarnished Truth, which we actually have a distillery in the basement of the hotel. Sea Hill, that's our spa. Becca is our full service restaurant. This is just give you an overview of some of the things, the features of the historic Cavalier Hotel. We have the Hunt Room with the famous fireplace where Richard Nixon burned about 60 seconds of the Watergate tapes. This is the ocean side of our Cavalier Beach Club. We did build 81 homes around the Cavalier Hotel. This is the full service Marriott that's located on the ocean front. In the interior of the full service Marriott, this is our restaurant, our full service restaurant Tulu on the ground level. Ryan's roof is actually located on the roof, a very nice restaurant. We did build 35 luxury condos around the Marriott. The Embassy Suites was our final capstone for the project. The project itself was $440 million. This is the interior of the Embassy with the Arbuckles Grill. Good view of the Cavalier from the Arbuckles Bar, the pool deck of the Embassy. We also have a great place called Tacos and Tequila that you stumble into. We only serve tacos and tequila there. And of course, we have the Cavalier Beach Service, luxury service. We also have the Main in downtown Norfolk, which was a public-private partnership with the city of Norfolk. There's the hotel lobby and atrium. Our meeting spaces, we have 100,000 square feet of meeting space, the largest ballroom in the state of Virginia. One of our Italian restaurant called Varia with private dining rooms, our rooftop restaurant called Grain, our seafood restaurant called Saltine. And our third company is Heritage Investments, which is our asset company. We do own some parking garages in Virginia Beach. We have a mixed-use project called Summer House Apartments with an office building called the Sidney Kellum Office Building, the only building named after Sidney Kellum in Virginia Beach. And we do process all of the linen terry for all of our hotels and our competitor hotels in Virginia Beach. We also have the exclusive license for the beach chairs and loungers on Virginia Beach oceanfront. We've been involved in raising money for the public arts. Public arts is a big part of our company. Of course, we won numerous projects, numerous awards for our projects around the area. And this is our vision to reality. We believe in, if we give you a rendering, we'll deliver the project. On the left is the actual rendering, and on the right is the actual project itself. So we thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about Gold Key PHR, and we hope you come see us in Virginia Beach.
Bob, thank you so much. That was fascinating. I did not know anything about that. The fireplace there. That's very cool. That's very interesting. And so if you'll stop sharing your screen, and I'll share the screen as well.
Yeah.
And again, Bob, thank you also for serving on our board. We appreciate your service and your insight into what we're doing. So we do
Sorry
appreciate
it took me so long to stop sharing.
That's okay. No worries at all. So great. Well, thank you again, Bob. We appreciate it. And so let me tell you a little bit about. I'll give you guys an update on what's going on with RVA757 Connects. As I mentioned, we are a nonprofit organization whose mission is to improve the economic success and quality of life of everyone in the Richmond region, which we call RVA, and the Hampton Roads region, 757. We're connecting things together. We are a coalition of top leaders representing businesses, higher education, and organizations. And we're following a national model where nearby localities collaborate on initiatives that advance both regions. We're advancing the mega region from the Richmond area to Hampton Roads as the I-64 Innovation Corridor. As you can see, we are pursuing several different priorities and initiatives. We are helping the I-64 Innovation Corridor become a global internet hub, and more on that in just a moment. We also advocated for the widening of Interstate 64, that's at 29 miles from the Richmond area all the way to Williamsburg. That project is now fully funded by the General Assembly, and the project is construction is underway, and that project should be completed in 2028. And we're also advocating for multi-use trails such as Trail 757 in Hampton Roads, and the Fall Line Trail in the Richmond region, and the Virginia Capitol Trail between the Richmond and Jamestown, and a lot more on all of that in just a moment. You can read about all of our initiatives and our priorities on our website at RVA757 Connects. Our top priority is to spearhead efforts to have the I-64 Innovation Corridor designated as a global internet hub. This is a bold plan to harness a once-in-a-generation opportunity to transform the future of the Richmond region and Hampton Roads. When you view the Richmond area and Hampton Roads together, combined, we have the core digital infrastructure in place needed to become a global internet hub. This 3-foot by 2-foot map explains visually how the I-64 Innovation Corridor becomes a global internet hub. Our mega region has the subsea cables that come ashore in Virginia Beach, and more are coming. We have a robust local and intercity terrestrial networks. We have digital network rings. We have internet exchanges, and we have data centers of all types and sizes, and more are on the way. If you'd like to get an actual copy of this map, please let me know, email me and let me know, and we'll send you one. On the other side of the map explains what a global internet hub is, why it's important, and what the strategies we are using to build one of these interconnected digital hubs. As part of the Global Internet Hub initiative, RVA757 Connects is championing for strong and expanding digital infrastructure ecosystems, enabling world-class communication and connectivity. Having a modern digital infrastructure ecosystem fuels everything from cloud computing and e-commerce to AI-driven manufacturing. And all of this will grow our overall GDP and, in turn, economic prosperity for everyone. You know, we gave the Global Internet Hub an initiative a soul called PCs for People, which is the largest and most successful computer refurbishing operating in large U.S. markets across the country, with a vision of ending the digital divide. PCs for People collects outdated computers at no cost to the businesses or organizations, refurbishes those old computers, and installs the latest software and provides renewed desktop systems to underserved residents and families for free, or late model laptops for up to $150. You can learn more about PCs for People next month on Wednesday, October the 1st at noon. Our next Innovation Spotlight webinar will feature PCs for People. The CEO of that organization will join us to tell us more about their plans that they have here in the mega region. Details and registration will be available on our website starting next week. So now let's turn to today's topic. As I mentioned earlier, one of our priorities is to help advance multi-use trails in the mega region. Bicycling in Virginia has become a popular leisure activity that has been increasing interest and use during the last 5 to 10 years. The COVID pandemic also accelerated this trend. Biking is not only a popular sport, but it also has become a great alternative mode of transportation. The interest has boosted the use and the number of multi-use trail networks throughout the mega region. Localities have been investing in bike walk trails and in recent years to support the increased demand. Virginia has a number of major multi-use trails, and the state is becoming a home to a growing network of multi-use trails that connect communities, enhance recreation, support alternative transportation. So from the capital, so basically from the Fall Line Trail eventually to the Capitol Trail linking Richmond to Jamestown and soon to Williamsburg, expanding the corridors that stretch towards Virginia Beach and elsewhere in Hampton Roads and beyond. These trails are transforming how people move, explore, and experience the Commonwealth. So it's all for good reason, too. Multi-use trails have many benefits, including to help attract and retain young professionals and help promote tourism. Trails offer many benefits. Biking and walking activities has universal appeal. Multi-use trails can directly improve local social equity. Trails increase access and mobility for local communities, provide healthcare savings, enhance employer and employee attention and attraction. Multi-use trails attract and retain talent by providing recreation and commuting options, which are significant factors in attracting not only companies, but also the employees that work there. These trails provide lifestyles appeal. They appeal to environmental consciousness. Trails help maintain a healthy work-life balance. They enhance overall attractiveness of a local environment. And the proximity of these trails help improve employee well-being. Consider Bentonville, Arkansas. That's the home of Walmart's corporate offices. In that market, multi-use trails have become a powerful tool in attracting and retaining employees by enhancing quality of life and in creating a vibrant, active community. Companies there leverage the region's extensive, robust, and interconnected system of multi-use trail networks as a unique amenity that appeals to top talent seeking both for professional opportunities and outdoor recreation. Now let's talk about building Virginia's longest multi-use trail from the Richmond region all the way to the Hampton Roads region as well. Imagine how someone could bike, run, or even walk from Ashland or Petersburg through the Richmond region all the way down to Colonial Williamsburg and then onto Fort Monroe on the peninsula or across the James River onto Virginia Beach's oceanfront. They can do so by using these trails. The Virginia Capitol Trail is a 51.7-mile, fully paved trail that runs from downtown Richmond through Henrico County, Charles City County, and James City County to Jamestown. The trail recently announced plans to extend it by another 7.5 miles into Colonial Williamsburg. 10 years ago, next month in October, marks the 10-year anniversary of the opening of the entire Virginia Capitol Trail. It's amazing that it's only been 10 years. The Fall Line Trail is a planned 43-mile route traversing through 7 localities in central Virginia from connecting Ashland all the way down to Petersburg. Trail 757 is an 82-mile trail under development from Williamsburg through the eastern part of James City County, York County, Newport News, and Hampton, and will end at Fort Monroe on the peninsula. Then there's another route that will start the Virginia Capitol Trail in Jamestown and go across the Jamestown Scotland Ferry to Surrey, into Smithfield, Suffolk, where it will join other existing and planned trails there and connect to the Virginia Beach oceanfront. And then finally, the Elizabeth River Trail. This is a 10.5-mile urban trail that connects segments of Norfolk's working waterfront. Let me introduce our speakers to give us an overview of each of these trails. Kat Anthony has served as Executive Director of the Virginia Capitol Trail Foundation since October of 2017. She also serves as President of the Virginia Trails Alliance. After her will be Brantley Kendall. He's the Director of Bike Walk RVA at Sportsbackers, where he leads the advocacy movement for biking and walking infrastructure policy in the Richmond region. We have Pavithra. Pavithra serves as the Deputy Executive Director of the Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization, where she directs the agency's transportation and planning activities. That includes working closely with jurisdictions and stakeholders to help advance Trail 757. As a side note about Trail 757, RVA757 Connects worked with the Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization and the Tidewater Trails Alliance to help change the name from Birthplace of America, or BOAT as it once was called, to Trail 757. We did this last year. We also designed a new logo and built a new website for Trail 757. And then finally, we have Kendra Green. She's the Executive Director of the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation. Before I turn it over to Pat, let me just remind everyone, if you have any questions for the speakers, please use the chat function in the Zoom here and be able to ask questions. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and turn it over to Pat Anthony.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I am going to share my screen. All right. All right. So my name is Kat. I'm the Executive Director of the Virginia Capitol Trail Foundation. And so I'm here to talk about, of course, the Capitol Trail. So one of my goals is to help you understand the Capitol Trail, learn more about it. But I also have a mission, or a secret mission, is I really want y'all in this room or this computer to become advocates for trails in Virginia. And so it can be an advocate for my trail, it can be an advocate for my colleagues you'll listen to later, but we need more trails in Virginia. And so I want to talk about that. And I hope at the end of this session that many of y'all will take action and say to legislators, to leaders in your community that, yes, I want more trails in my community. So first things first, so let's talk about the CAP Trail. So the Capitol Trail is a 51.7-mile trail that goes from the floodwall doors in Richmond all the way to the Jamestown settlement. So it is a paved multi-use trail that is off the road. People love it. Because I know, for example, for me, I often will bike from my house to the Capitol Trail, and I just feel a sigh of relief when I get to the trail because it is away from cars, it's accessible, and it's really fun. And so the Capitol Trail spans, of course, the city of Richmond, Henrico, Charles City County, James City County, and our goal is to continue it on to the city of Williamsburg with which an expansion project. So just so you know, the Capitol Trail Foundation was started in 2004. We became a nonprofit in 2005. It was founded by a number of great folks, including Mark Marriage, Jay Paul, Jimmy Carr, John Lugbill, Whit Clement, who is the Secretary of Transportation, who really I would consider as like almost like the father of the Capitol Trail. Many of those folks helped build this organization. And then once the organization was thriving, they moved on, but they're still great supporters of ours. And so our average yearly trail counts is about 1 million. Our biggest year was 2020. If you remember, something was going on that year. Everyone wanted to be outside, but we average about 1 million trail counts. And so the cost of the trail was $72 million. May feel really expensive, but if you compare that to many transportation projects, that's not a big deal. It took about 10 years for the trail to get built. It was fully built in 2015. And if any of y'all were around then, there was a big bike event in the Richmond area. And so we wanted to get it built by them. And we're actually celebrating our 10 years in October. And so there's 2 birthday parties. Come to our website. You can come check it out. It's at 2 breweries. And so it is a fantastic off-road infrastructure and people love it. And so, you know, what we do at the Capitol Trail, so we, of course, protect the Capitol Trail. So you'll see that our trail is maintained at a very, very high level. If you go to other trails outside of Virginia, you'll see that our trail is maintained. So we work with a number of different stakeholders to ensure it's maintained. We promote the Capitol Trail. So through marketing, through, we get thousands of emails, phone calls, text messages, Instagram, messages of folks saying, I want to come to the Capitol Trail. I live in Germany. How do I get there? Where can I stay? I want to take the Amtrak to the trail. How do I do that? And so we are fielding a lot of those different things. And then, of course, we enhance the Capitol Trail. So we have added amenities. We work with our trail users to understand what needs to change. And we also advocate for more trails to get built. So the Capitol Trail is a success story. People will say that because of the Capitol Trail, more trails are getting built because of that. And we are excited to be part of that and excited to be part of that success story. And so like I mentioned, these are some of the things that we do. And I want to make sure people understand it's not just a bike trail. It's a trail for runners, walkers, birders, skaters. It's for everyone. It's for families. And so that's really important to us that people understand that the trail is for everyone. We want to activate the trail. So we do that through community engagement. We do that through skill classes. We do that through advocacy. We do lots of volunteering. And so I will say this, like I said, I want you all to become advocates. And so check out our website to get involved with us even more. And so those are a few things that we do. And then we also, the Capitol Trail is also economic driver. And I want to make sure people understand that it's not just a recreational trail. It is an economic driver. The picture to your right there is Culls Courthouse Grill. So if you've been to Culls, they opened before the Capitol Trail was fully built. Once it was fully built, their business went up 300%. Then they had to hire more staff. And then they were renting that building. Now they bought that building. And then they bought that building next door, which you can see a window of it. And so they bought that building so they could start a B&B. That is just one economic success story that we have seen on the Capitol Trail. We have seen coffee shops, breweries, e-bike shops. We've seen so many different things open up along the Capitol Trail. And I want to say this, I think this is a lot of business folks in this room. Employees want to be near trails. They will move to be near bike and walking infrastructure. And our trail has also means jobs. If your property is near the Capitol Trail, the percentage of the property value will increase by around 4% more than other property values. So building trails is just good for the community and it's good for the economy. So here are a couple of things that people said before it was going to be completed. They're going to steal my TV. That has not happened, of course. It's a very, very safe trail, and people have all said it's not on my property, you know. There's a story of someone who made sure the trail was not going to be on their property. The trail decided to go across the road, and it's on that property. As it was being built, they asked if they could change it back to their property because they saw that the trail was going to be an amazing asset for our community. So that was before completion. And these are things that we're hearing now. People are wanting to move to be near it. Businesses are wanting to be near the trail. It's made a very positive impact in families. And so because of the success of the Capitol Trail, we have seen other trails be inspired and get built. And so to the left, you'll see our Capitol Trail map. It's very nice, but I highly recommend you go to our website and you can see an even more detailed map where you can see all the restaurants, the bathrooms, the water stops, all of those different things. And to the right, this is a map that I borrowed from the Three Notch Trail. You can see the connectivity of trails that are starting to form in Virginia. And so we're excited about things like the Fall Line, the Trail 757. All of those things are really exciting, and we want to continue to see those things thrive. And so check that out. So we made a big announcement maybe like a month or two ago that the Capitol Trail is not done. We want to see the Capitol Trail expanded to Williamsburg. And so honestly, what happened was folks were the Tidewater Trails Alliance, another great nonprofit, came to us and said, you guys got the Capitol Trail built. Y'all are the leaders of building trails and managing trails. Can you help us? And so we decided to help in a small way and start off with 7.5 miles of trail that we're hoping to get built. And so funding for that trail, it's gonna cost 20 to 30 million. So prices have gone up a little bit since 2015. But we're hoping to get that funded through a lot of different ways. We're also hiring a director of trail development. We're hiring someone to help us wake up every day and help us with advocacy work, stakeholder engagement, fundraising. We're actually starting interviews for that right now. But I really want us to see, of course, my little green portion. And then I know Pravitra is going to talk about the Trail 757. But how cool would it be to bike from Richmond all the way to the Hampton Roads area and beyond? Or when I'm older, one day we can, utilize the Fall Line, go to Ashland, but even go further than that to DC. So those are some of the things that we can do, but I can't do it by myself. I need y'all. I need y'all's help. And that's what I'm hoping that I can get from y'all. And so if you want to get involved, of course, reach out to any of us, but, investing in, into trail work, and that could mean funds, that could be programs, that could be events, could be sponsorships. But and really, it's just advocating to our local leaders that we want trails in our community. And so maybe it's also just engaging your employer. I'm leading a bike ride in a month with an employer, and so we're gonna go ride the bikes. And we did a trail cleanup last week with someone, and so just getting out there and experiencing our trails is awesome. But then advocating for more trails to get built. These trails are getting built because of champions. It's people like Whit Clement, who helped. He was a Secretary of Transportation. He said, I want to get this trail built, and he worked towards that. So I'm hoping that y'all in this webinar will get involved with trail work that we are doing. And it's easy to get involved. And so you can get involved with us, through our website. And then of course you can talk through things with our other colleagues you'll learn about today. So thank you so much for your time. I'm really grateful. And if you haven't been out on the Capitol Trail, please, please, please go out there. I hope you'll go out there. Thank you.
Yeah, that was fascinating. Thanks so much for updating us on what's going on with the Capitol Trail after 10 years. And in your 10th year, you're expanding. So that's great news. Brantley, you want to take next and tell us more about the Fall Line Trail from Ashland to Petersburg? And you're on mute. There we go. Okay, good.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brantley Tyndall. I'm the director of Bike Walk RVA at Sportsbackers, and I'm privileged to be here today. It's also it's a privilege to share the stage with our co-presenters, and we wouldn't be talking about the Fall Line Trail if it weren't for the Virginia Capitol Trail. One, it's an amazing trail, and two, it really has provided irreplaceable proof of concept in our region and the state for what's possible for trail development, who will use it, how successful it can be. There were fights many years ago about whether, as Kat mentioned, if TVs could be stolen, and it actually turns out it's pretty hard to steal a TV on a bike. So I'm glad that we've made it through that fight, and that doesn't come up quite so often anymore. And instead, we can talk about taking this wonderful amenity, the Virginia Capitol Trail, and making another complementary trail, learns lessons from the previous version, and then takes inspiration from around the world to see how we can make it even better. Sports Backers is an active living nonprofit based in the Richmond region. We're largely known for our large sporting events, the Richmond Marathon and the UCross Monument Avenue 10K. We have amazing programs as well. I direct Bike Walk RVA program. And when Kat mentioned John Lugbill, he's our longtime executive director, was co-founder of the Virginia Capitol Trail Foundation. We've been doing this work for a long time, and we're looking forward to having a complementary trail to the Virginia Capitol Trail. I want to put this into perspective a little bit. The fall line is not really like anything that that Virginia has considered. Certainly, it is a paved trail separated from the road. It's just to a higher degree. It is going. If there's one kind of takeaway that I'd like you to have today, it is worth investing in high value places to build trails to get high use, high impact, instead of thinking we should build primarily in marginal land that's easy to achieve, that doesn't cost anything, because you don't get some of the benefits that are really the biggest benefit, which is high use, high development opportunity that co-aligns with this trail. Some interesting takeaways here. The fall line goes through 7 localities, starting in Ashland, Henrico, or Hanover, Henrico, the city of Richmond, Chesterfield, Colonial Heights, and Petersburg. It has 2 planning districts. It's a lot of elected officials, it's a lot of planning staff, a lot of transportation staff. And in 2020, the General Assembly created the Central Virginia Transportation Authority. So the 9 localities that co-align with the Plan RVA planning district also have some say in the funding related to the Virginia Capitol or the Fall Line Trail. And the alignment itself, I'm not going to go into too much detail about this today. I'm actually going to show you a lot of pretty pictures. The alignment is intentionally chosen to connect existing communities, built out residential areas, commercial districts, retail, universities, connects 95 public schools. You can really start to dream about the potential use for this active transportation project because it is going to be so close and baked into people's lives. That's also the foundation for its economic development potential, including places like this, the crossing of the James River. This is Browns Island, one of the signature places in downtown Richmond for entertainment. We use it for several of our events. And it's one of the drivers for why people come to Richmond in the first place. And that bridge in the background is the Manchester Bridge. That will be the crossing of the James for the Fall Line Trail. You can just see how great of an experience it's going to be, and just this one signature mile section. A quick update on sort of where we are construction-wise. We are 3 weeks away from the ribbon cutting of the first major section of the fall line. That is Ashland, the entire section of Hanover, crossing the Chickahominy River into the northern section of Henrico. Has not been publicly announced, but essentially will be announced today that September 24th will be the day of the ribbon cutting that we broke ground on in April of last year. A quick takeaway is that there is an active section in every locality at this point, and in the next 12 months, we will have active construction on more than 20 miles of trail, or it will already be completed. So we are years and years into this project, and it's going to start to feel like it's moving quickly, like things are coming online with some regularity, and we are just now entering the kind of exciting, like lots of updates, lots of construction, lots of ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings, and I hope to see you at many of those. This is some simplified funding. If you've worked in transportation funding before, it is fairly arcane. So this is accurate to within $1 million in each of these buckets. The big takeaway here is that the bulk of the funding has come from the Central Virginia Transportation Authority, regional funding. So that's regional money that the entire region agreed to spend on this regional priority project, and from the state, whether it's competitive funds through Smart Scale or through high priority and other funds that VDOT and the state can control. Notably, we have received $7.5 million from the State Trails Fund that the Virginia Trails Alliance and our partners helped to secure several years ago. We're one of 6 trails who have received funding from that. And as you know, we've raised $291 million. It's more than $250 million, a lot of money, right? I'll explain why we're justifying or how we're justifying that on future slides. But it's important to know we still have about a third of the way to go. And if you have your checkbooks, I wouldn't recommend trying to buy asphalt right now. It's actually pretty expensive. We look forward our local, state, regional, and federal government partners to be able to actually implement the trail. But like the Virginia Capitol Trail, Sports Backers is working hard to get this trail built, to program it, to build art, and in the future, manage and program the trail in perpetuity. So if you'd like to support us, we would very much appreciate it. So how does the trail start to pay for itself? I mean, we have been in a position to kind of sell this trail for about the last 7 years, and the rationale is this trail will drive again by really leveraging the specific siting in places that are high value, that get a lot of activity, that generate a lot of trips, that have a lot of supplemental and complementary uses with nightlife, events, universities, and baking it into our active transportation. We can see major improvements in the economy in lots of different sectors. So here's some examples here. The Indianapolis Cultural Trail, one of our main model trails. I'll show you some pretty pictures from all these places over the next few slides. Measured property values at 7 years after they built the trail, within a half mile, $1 billion increase in property values. That's not measuring the rest of the economic development. It's just the property values. And they chose specifically right through downtown Indianapolis, connecting sports venues, the big ones that we all watch on TV on the weekends, their state museums, their universities, and their cultural districts where people go out to eat, where do they go to see theaters, where do they go to parks. Similarly, the Atlanta Beltline is not even completed, and it's generated more than $8 billion in economic development. The Bentonville, and you stole my thunder a little bit, Greg, but the Bentonville is an amazing place to go if you haven't seen this. The impact that Walmart and the Walmart family have made in that region in terms of economic growth is unprecedented. They've turned basically undeveloped place into an outdoor recreation focused haven. It's like Disneyland for trail riding and mountain biking and going outside. I very much encourage you to take a visit. A big portion of their economic development is actually related to health impacts, as well as incorporating local business, including bringing companies to Bentonville to really kind of take part in their outdoor recreation economy. And the Highline Trail really kicked this off years ago with the development of a elevated train line right in Manhattan that is now a bustling and vibrant place. It's a park. It's a place to walk in downtown that feels like you're not in, busy, bustling Manhattan and Hell's Kitchen. And instead it's a huge economic driver in a place that's already a really vibrant, expensive place. So just some of the things that you can consider optimizing for your economic development plan. There's direct spending, people coming and spending in businesses, but some of the biggest numbers that you'll get are property value increases related to people moving and the desirability of being close to a trail and being in a community that supports trails, that has broad access to where the trail can take you, as well as companies wanting to come here. When Lego sited in Chesterfield, one of the first places that people took them, they're from Denmark, they're bike people. They took them to the Virginia Capitol Trail. And if you want to get your next Lego or you want to get your next Amazon HQ2, these are things that they're looking for when they cite a major employment center. And Walmart, again, Walmart had a talent attraction problem in Bentonville, Arkansas in the 90s. People didn't want to go to essentially rural Arkansas, move their family halfway across the country so that they could have an account with Walmart, the biggest distributor in the world. Walmart had to create livability and quality of life in a place that essentially was not ranked very well for that. And they invested in outdoor recreation, they invested in trails. They have more than 600 miles of trails in that region, and it's going gangbusters. So we're learning from Bentonville now. I'm not sure that we would have predicted that years ago, but it really works. So now is a fun time to go through some quick slides. I want to be mindful of my co-presenters and time, but so just kind of take some quick takeaways from some of these images. I will say the first place to start if you want to go to our website, falllinetrail.org. The Fall Line Vision Plan was privately funded and administered by us. Some of our consultants are on the call today, Tool Design, world leaders in this kind of thing. Pretty amazing when the former supervisor or chair of the board of supervisors in Chesterfield has such great things to say for a trail like this, and we couldn't have done this without Kevin Carroll. It's more than 100 pages. and lots of pretty pictures, but it gives you an insight on how you can really maximize the impact of a trail like the Fall Line. We have a breakout on trail-oriented development. It's not just coffee shops and bike shops. It is a whole bunch of things about how people need to get to and from the trail and how you maximize people's experience, up to and including rezoning, density. Where do you think about mapping green space for the next 10 years? In the city of Richmond in particular, there's a big regreening effort, and the trail is specifically aligned through places that are today kind of hot, maybe not very hospitable for a trail user, but in 5 to 10 years, as a trail brings development and is developed itself, we're talking about real change and improvement in quality of life. Public art is a major lesson we've learned from around the country. We have some pretty pictures here from our region and from some other places around the country. If you really want to maximize, how do you measure if your trail is successful? How many people are using it? And you have to start thinking about these trails are not for people who bike and for people who walk exclusively. They're going to be through an urban corridor or a suburban corridor. They really are for everyone. How do you get people who are not trail users today to want to use it? You got to entice them with something interesting. Art is one of the major ways that you can do it. And there's a lot more to that conversation, but I just want to say you got to be thoughtful about it. And we look forward to the development of art. I also want to recognize Rob from Gold Key PHR and their investment in art. I think you understand that you got to create a vibrant place for people to come and use this. So what kind of success is possible? This is a trail that wasn't on your list, I don't think, Greg, but one of the leading trails in Virginia is the Washington and Old Dominion Trail, WNOD, former rail trail that connects Percival all the way in the western part of Northern Virginia right into DC. This is a single trail counter. This isn't the whole trail. This isn't the whole network. A single trail counter in 2021 counted 3.5 million users. So you think about a 44-mile trail. It is also at the nexus of the Custis and Mount Vernon trails in one of the densest places in the country. We are talking about the real potential of millions and millions of people using this. That is the vision. The official estimate for future use for the Fall Line is 3 million users a year based on the success of the Virginia Capitol Trail, just recognizing that the destination density is much higher in this particular corridor. And I would imagine several of the trails in Trail 757 would benefit from this density as well. We got to keep our eyes on the prize, get these millions of people to use it. Let's start optimizing for some of these categories. So if you can kind of compartmentalize the various lessons that we've learned around the country for how we should build these trails, we need to optimize for quality. This is a beautiful place in Atlanta. You can see you got lots of different kinds of, it's wide, it's good quality, you've got trees, you got some nice architectural features, you have some art, you have housing, you have retail all in the same place, you got good lighting here. You can't expect a trail to be world-class if you don't kind of think this through at the beginning. You need to have places along the trail. Actually, our consultants for the Fall Line Vision Plan say that you need to think about the path as a place itself, and that it needs to be a connection of places so that people most trail users aren't going to go very far on it. They're going to get on the trail and they're going to go somewhere in close proximity. They need somewhere to go. They need to sit down, they need some shade, or they need to get to a restaurant or whatever their ultimate destination is. We have to develop the entire trail corridor so that there are bathrooms and there's sort of the amenities side of trail-oriented development. But a lesson that we've learned from places around the country is that apartment buildings need to have their front door to the trail instead of the parking lot against the road. These are some subtle form-based cues and some density cues that really create a successful recipe for all this to work. And at the end of the day, the trail is just a line on a map. You have to be able to get to and from it. So thinking about your trail spur connections, your bike lane network, and your sidewalk network so that people can actually get there. I also want to add that in Richmond, North-South Bus Rapid Transit, which is in development now, and our existing East-West Bus Rapid Transit, the Pulse Line, will crisscross the Fall Line and really be a way that people get to and from the trail that we may not be thinking about in the traditional sense. So just the sense that people will use, they're not just going to drive to the trail. And if you expect people to just drive to the trail, your success will be limited. And now we're in slideshow time. Think about how you can use color. Think about how you can delineate where you have a density of users, delineate where bike riders should go and where pedestrians should go. Think about park features like a dirt trail that's parallel to a paved trail. This is from Bentonville, Arkansas. Northwest, or the upper left picture here is in Northwest DC by the Washington Monument. Sometimes a trail is going to be in the densest, most pedestrian heavy, most desirable place where a high proportion of people don't natively speak English. You have to design for people that are from a density of backgrounds that aren't your typical bike person. Bridges over major intersections, mile markers, branding, confidence signage, particularly when it's high quality, helps you achieve your goals. Thinking about trail slide art, this is the most productive coffee shop in Bentonville is in a biking and walking accessible place only. And it's in a private park that's open to the public that is an epicenter of a lot of their trail development, Kohler Mountain Bike Preserve. The novelty is actually, and the sort of whimsy is actually a way to really get people in the door to using your trail. And then thinking about how you can have trailside multi-use development. You got residential, retail. People want somewhere to go. They want to live somewhere where they can roll out their front door to get to a trail. Trailside art, trailside places to play. This is a little pocket park in the bottom images in Bentonville where people can just get off the mainline trunk trail and do something fun and interesting. This spider sculpture is near Crystal Bridges Museum, world-class art museum that is heavily accessible by trail. You see people building playgrounds that are accessible to the trail. So instead of people worrying about their TV being stolen, instead they're welcoming their neighbors to use their backyard or something like that. This is in North Carolina near my dad's house, but you see the same thing on the WOD trail in Northern Virginia. You want to see grade separated crossings. Sometimes that means a culvert or a tunnel. Sometimes that means a bridge. But where you can predict density of interaction, highways and bigger roads, you might not be able to build that crossing the first time, but you need to be thinking about how you can optimize that in the future. You're literally going to save someone's life. So think about the importance of that. Trailside art, it's not just a mural here or there. It can be an entire wall. It can be interactive art where you can make a puzzle. You get organic art like this trail-oriented condo complex or single-family housing complex where people are putting art in their own front yard because they chose to live there because the Indianapolis Cultural Trail was right in front of their house. And art, office buildings, this is all in Bentonville here. The bottom right picture you can just make out is Walmart's headquarters. They paid for a trail connection right here in the front that separates pedestrian and bicyclist use, and it's a direct connector to the Razorback Greenway, which is their version of the Fall Line Trail. I'm not, it's a whole different recipe in Bentonville, but you can see the leadership that they've taken to actually achieve what they're hoping is a 10% mode share. Walmart wants 10% of their employees to bike to work, and they're putting their money where their mouth is, which I think is pretty incredible. You'll see things like bike-themed breweries, bike-themed coffee shops, restaurants. This is on the upper left is a pavilion and concert venue right on the Razorback Greenway in Bentonville. And you can see some interesting artistic features. This is back in that Kohler Mountain Bike Preserve where they use angles from nature to build the trail, and it's a really compelling experience. And these are protected bike lanes in Bentonville, Arkansas, of all places, that build high quality connections to and from the trail so that people from around the region can get to the Razorback Greenway. Think about it like an interstate. You can get to where you're going by getting on the collector roads and taking your local roads to get to the collector roads. You have to think about it in a network, or you're not going to achieve the use or the economic development potential that really is there. On the horizon, like I said, we're in groundbreaking and ribbon cutting season, and we're 3 weeks away from opening the Hanover, Ashland, Northern Henrico section, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Great, thanks, Brantley. That was a very interesting, comprehensive. I'm glad you mentioned about Bentonville because that's one of the things we always try to talk about as well. Pavithra, you are up. Tell us about Trail 757 and all the stuff that's happening down in the Hampton Roads region.
Okay, you can hear me and see my screen, correct?
Yeah, we can see the advanced screen too, so you need to put it on presentation mode.
Okay. How about now?
It's still the same thing. There we go. There we go.
Okay.
Great,
perfect.
thank you.
Okay, so Yeah, so I think you've heard from Capitol Trail, the Fall Line Trail. Today I'm going to give a very quick update on Trail 757. I'm Pavitra Parthasarathi and I'm with the Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization. So we've heard a lot about the success story that's Virginia Capitol Trail. Kat talked about how Williamsburg and James City are at the eastern end. So when you look at today, we are at one end of this really successful trail. And when we started this, we said, okay, what would it take to extend the Capitol Trail and to our region? Obviously, our region's very diverse. So the James River, there's localities on the peninsula on the south side. So what Trail 757 would do is extend the Virginia Capitol Trail, connect to its existing terminus all the way to Fort Monroe. And for those who can see my screen, Fort Monroe is all the way here in Hampton. And then we would take the Jamestown, Scotland ferry, come down to the south side. So this trail connection is very critical to us because this is part of the broader vision for trails in our region. Kendra is coming up next and she's going to be talking about the Elizabeth River Trail, but then other localities in our region have been very proactive. So the Virginia Beach Trail, the Suffolk Seaboard Trail, Portsmouth Chesapeake, they're all planning and implementing active transportation facility. And I think as Greg introduced us, when this gets done, someone can jump on a bike or walk all the way from Richmond to the Virginia Beach oceanfront. And I don't need to make the case to this audience of why this is important. It's about quality of life. It's about retaining talent, and trails always rank as one of the highest quality of life indicators for young professionals. So what have we done so far? As I said, the original study was done in 2018. We had potential routing, but I always say the details matter once you start implementing trails. So a lot of the work needed to be done on refinement, on consensus, on the alignment. VDOT was very supportive. They helped us use their on-call consultants, Michael Baker. They helped us refine key trail segments. And I should give a shout out to our localities because they have tried to pursue any and all funding opportunities to implement these trail segments. So what that has meant was, and this information is on the Trail 757 website. So we've taken this 82-mile trail, and one thing I forgot to mention at the beginning, today's briefing is only focusing on the trail on the peninsula. I think if I focus on everything else, that would be another full hour presentation in the interest of time. I'm focusing on the peninsula. So we've been able to take this 82-mile segment, break it into very clear, distinct segments. Why that matters is when we go talk to elected officials, board members, any stakeholder groups, it gives some context for them to understand rather than a line on a map. There is a clear, discrete way of describing these trails. So the other thing one of our team members also did, I think Kat talked about it, costs have gone way more than what was seen in 2015, 2016, right? The small pandemic called COVID and supply chain, when supply chain became a vocabulary term that people started using, that has really had an impact on costs. So we've been able to take actual completed in the works projects to come up with more refined estimates. Now, I will always say still more needs to be done to come up with official estimates, but this is more refined just because it accounts for what's happening on the ground today. And all of this information that we have is on trail757.com. So where are we today? I think we've talked about localities proactively going after funds, and I think the previous presentation touched upon some of the funding sources. When I always put this slide, I give the caveat, this is not all funding, all projects. This is just a snapshot of some of the recently funded projects. So if you see one of your projects not listed, it is there. It's just this would make for a very crowded map if I put everything on the screen. Why I put the slide in is just to show the way our localities have proactively taken after the TAP, the carbon reduction, regional surface transportation, and smart scale, trying to find ways we can advance these trail segments. The Transportation Alternatives Program is currently, the application's open, and some of our applications are for Trail 757. And another thing that I think is very important, and that comes to how you market the trail. Anytime any of our localities go after funding, they're very clear to say this is part of the broader Trail 757. This is part of our broader regional trail system. And I think that narrative really makes the case for investing in these trails. So funding status, ours is a little different than the previous presentation. So we have over 30% funded and complete. Over 60% remains unfunded. But we just heard 10 years for the Capital Trail to get from construction beginning to end. And I think it took 10 more additional years of planning. I'm not saying we wait 20 years, but I think it's something to keep in mind as we advance these trail segments. So what are we doing to advance Trail 757? I think our localities and advocates have all, I think, biking in the same direction or rowing in the same direction. I would have to say biking here. RVA757 Connects has been really helpful. Greg touched upon the rebranding of our trail. Tidewater Trail Alliance, hopefully some of them are on the call. They've been championing this trail way before the momentum kicked up. And so that's been really exciting that they've been engaged with us in this process. And I'm going to touch upon the last bullet in a minute because Kat's already touched on it. But the rebranding, we went from Birthplace of America Trail to Trail 757. We have a new website, so please take a look. And you can, if you have any questions, reach out to us and we would really love to hear from you. The major step for us, the Capital Trail extension, what that means, as previously mentioned, it's a major expansion of the trail into Williamsburg, 7.5 miles. And we think we are really excited about it because it's going to be the catalyst for the future Trail 757 network. I think lots happening. I think this is just going to jumpstart the trail network. Finally, what's next? We've been very lucky in that we have a regional legislative agenda that our board and commission endorses every year. We do not put stuff in that agenda that does not have unanimous support. We've never had to go to any of our board members and make the case that trails are important. I think that's been really helpful. Trail 757 has remained a key priority along with other trails, and we expect that to happen again this year when we finalize our regional legislative agenda. I showed you the slide about funding sources. I know I talked about federal, state, local. We really want to explore all, and that could include private because having private partnerships on segments of the trail, I think can really help jumpstart the trail. Our localities, as I said, they have been proactive. We'll continue to support them. The State Trails Office, we heard the Fall Line Trail got some money, and obviously we're going to advocate for increased funding for trails. That's the message if we can take away from this webinar today. But selfishly, we also want money for the Trail 757 because that is important for us to move this trail forward. Again, continuing our partnerships with the Virginia Capital Trail Foundation, Tidewater Trail Alliance, RVA 757, and also because of the rebranding, what's that helped us is we now have consistent messaging throughout, and we want to be able to continue it. So if you go to our website or this presentation or any of the materials, we always try to use the same consistent message. So we want to continue to do that. And hopefully we would be able to expand and identify our champions who can talk to elected officials, who can talk to the public, who can talk to the business leaders to make a case for why investing in this trail matters. I think all of us on this screen here and the attendees, I think we're all on board. It's just making sure that we continue to keep that momentum going. With that, I'm going to wrap up. We have my contact information. And if you have any questions, please, happy to answer or follow up with an email.
Thank you so much for that in-depth understanding of what's going on with Trail 757. That was very good. Kendra, you are now going to tell us about the Elizabeth River Trail.
Sure. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm really delighted to actually be here representing the south side of the conversation as we talk about what's happening here in Norfolk and with my neighbors here in Virginia Beach as well. So I'm Kendra Green, Executive Director of the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation. And as my colleagues have talked about here, trails, offer something for everyone. That's actually our tagline. We are 10.5 miles connected through an urban area, and we really do have something for everyone. We really try to stay away from the narrative that we are a biking trail. We are not. We're actually primarily pedestrian. So I'll share that the trail itself, the 10.5 miles, is very urban. One of our terminus is at Norfolk State University, right outside the university, and we go all the way to the Port of Virginia. And along those 10.5 miles by design, we stay as close to the Elizabeth River as possible, as our master planning principle is to keep that open connection to our waterfront. So much of our waterfront here in Norfolk is not accessible. So having that connection and that open access to the water is incredibly important. And we are an exclusively urban trail. So we are very urban, much like the High Line that was referenced earlier. We are providing that sanctuary in the city, but we're connecting 28 neighborhoods, all of our major employers and economic generators, our medical complex, 2 universities, and again, major employers throughout the city. So we serve, of course, as a recreational outlet, but we are very, very much integral to transportation to the city with all of our many of our bus stops located along the trail, our light rail system, the Amtrak station directly on the trail, and again, our light rail that's connecting to the Virginia Beach city line. So the foundation itself is only 8 years old, will be 9 years old in November. And it was our responsibility as the foundation to activate and enhance what was already there. So the trail existed in some form or fashion for 20 years or so, thanks to some visionary leaders. But it was not activated and it was not really signed or identified. So looking, as we've all spoken to today, how do we attract and retain talent? How do we prevent brain drain? How do we, get our city to rally around this? And thanks to, great leaders at our Greater Norfolk Corporation, we kind of stemmed off of that as a 501c3 to plan, program, and advocate for this trail. And our mission has evolved, but we are really focused on connecting Naval Station Norfolk to the Virginia Beach Trail, our neighbors who are well underway with their plans for that trail to span the city. And our vision actually has never wavered. This has been our map from 2015, since before the foundation was actually formed. The plan always was to go north to the Naval Station, where we're connecting all of our military personnel and all of that congestion along Hampton Boulevard, and east to the Virginia Beach line, because as we've talked about all day today, it's that regional connection that is so important. So this is that sort of original map. So I'll just quickly go through these slides. This is what the foundation has been able to do with support from private funders and donors over the last 8 years. We've raised private funds for this public amenity to install over 500 wayfinding signs, enhance these spaces, really activate it as a place for safe walking, off-road travel, trailheads, amenities. We do have the largest concentration of amenities along our Venue Trail, all of our playground structures, trailheads, bike racks, bike repair stations, picnic tables, and more. So really has just become a beloved space for our city. But beyond that, we've all spoken to the economic impact, and we had an economic impact study completed in 2024. And we have nearly $19 million in economic impact to the city. And according to the Rails to Trails Conservancy, the economic impact that trails have on their individual cities is quadrupled when there's regional connection. So we are looking to our neighbors in Virginia Beach who are well on their way for their 12-mile trail to get completed so that we can connect to that trail and have that regional connection. So not only are we currently working on enhancing the trail, we are also doing all of the programming. Here's just a small snapshot of what has happened over this last fiscal year, which just ended June 30th. I've seen questions pop up on how these trail use interactions are counted. Our foundation has 5 digital eco counters that we own that are placed at 5 specific locations from north to east along the trail that records interactions by the minute. So I think we're well on our way, hopefully, to matching Kat's numbers at the CAP Trail of being at 1 million soon. But we are also really constantly doing outreach and programming because we are a community asset, of course, for everyone. Continuing to build trailhead shelters and activate the neighborhood. And then we got to end our fiscal year with a long sought after designation. In 2025, we were one of 5 trails in the whole US to be awarded the National Recreation Trail designation by the Department of Interior. So we get to join the CAP Trail as another national recreation trail, but we are the first in Hampton Roads. So we're really proud of that designation. Got some press and some Washington Post attention for that. So that was really exciting. But moving forward, our current terminus, our farthest terminus east, is at Norfolk State. So there's a gap right now where the light rail exists from Norfolk State all the way to the Virginia Beach line. And how do we close that gap? As soon as that Virginia Beach trail opens, that gap is going to be really noticeable. So not only do we have that, we also have the coastal storm risk management, our flood wall that's being built. We've worked really closely with the Army Corps of Engineers to incorporate our trail wherever possible along that line of protection so that we have the trails coming up on berms and being atop of that. So hopefully that will be part of the extension as we work to go east to Virginia Beach. But here's my neighbors right here in Virginia Beach, and they're taking that former rail line and it's becoming the Virginia Beach Trail. So we have to connect where our city line ends at the Newtown Road Transit Hub and identify that connection. So they borrowed this from my colleagues at the BV Trail. And so again, we're connecting hopefully from that former rail bed to their trail and forming that connection. That city has been fully on board with that. They have a lot of support. So we're really hoping for advocacy here in Norfolk as we close that gap. We've talked a lot about the ways that you listening and watching can help support, and it just really does come down to advocacy. Contact your local representatives, ask for dedicated trail funding. Here at the ERT, we have so many opportunities to volunteer. We are a very small team. We are 2 full-time people and 1 part-time person, and all of those programs that we mentioned. So really get people to the trail, tell them why trails matter, why connection matters, and that regional connection. And I always love to end with a dog picture. Again, trails are for everyone. So there's lots and lots of opportunities. And these are the ways that you can stay connected, reach out if you have any questions. And glad to be representing the other existing trails and planned trails here on the south side.
That's great, Kendra. I love that last photo. It was wonderful. And thanks so much for that information about the ROI. That was fascinating. I didn't know that Joel had done an ROI study. So that's good. I know Kat at the Capitol Trail did one, I think in 2018 or 2019, which showed significant increase in ROI and stuff. So thank you. I'm going to share the screen. Unfortunately, because of timing, we're running out of time. So we don't really have any times for Q&As. I do apologize for that, but we have captured your questions in the chat function, and we will try to get this to the correct people and get them answered if there are some correct answers. Let me just let you know what's happening next. Again, our website at RVA757Connects.com. You can see our major initiatives, including our Convergence event, which is coming up on November 18th in William and Mary, the full day long program. So if you're interested in attending, there's a site on our website about that. Again, remember that this webinar and any of our webinars, in fact, will be on our website this afternoon. You can go back the last 3 years on our monthly webinars. You can click on any of those webinars if you'd like to. Again, next month on Wednesday, October the 1st, will be our next webinar on PCs for People, launching here in Virginia. So that will be a great program to participate in. Again, thank you to our webinar speakers, Kat and Brantley and Pavitra and Kendra. Thank you so much for the insightful and really in-depth information that you provided us today. It was great to really push forward the bike walk trails, the multi-use trails in our mega region. And also thanks again to Bob, Howard, and the folks at Gold Key PHR for their sponsorship of today's webinar as well. And thank you to all of you for participating in today's webinar. We hope to see you next month on October the 1st, and go biking. Thanks. Have a great day, everybody.